I know it might be a little early to ask this question, but early feel on what Dan Lanning does different than Mario Cristobal, not just in regards to recruiting, but maybe how he may approach the job a little bit differently.
I think there's going to be similarities in terms of strengths. Obviously, both are very good recruiters. I think both, from what we've heard, connect really well with players and with recruits. I think a thing that stood out, I know Oregon obviously was hit by the transfer portal. I know I came on here and talked about Travis Dye's departure, which was really disappointing. But collectively, I think three different players that had entered the portal, Lanning was able to talk out of staying in the portal. And that sort of stood out to me. It wasn't just the recruiting he did to conclude this class, it was the recruiting he did to kind of keep the team in place, if you will. Obviously, the thing that I think people are curious about is offense, because Mario Cristobal was an offensive line coach. Dan Lanning, his background is in defense. Oregon hasn't had a defensive-minded coach since Rich Brooks. It's been almost 20 years, or more than 20 years, I think. Close to 30 years. Gosh, I'm getting my times wrong here. Since they've had a defensive-minded head coach. And so I think you expect defense to be a priority. You saw that in this cycle. Again, 10 out of 15 being defensive players. I think offensively, we had an opportunity to hear from offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham. He's 31, really young guy, about his offensive vision. And it sounds like it's going to be an offense that moves quicker. And by quicker, I mean more plays, maybe a little more tempo. Talked a lot about it being kind of a pro style that moves fast, that want to, I guess, get in 80 plays per game, which is moving. I don't think a single team in the country did that this year. So I think offensively, you might see a little bit of a difference from past years in terms of the aggressiveness. That doesn't necessarily mean, schematically you're running a pro style. I think people think under center, maybe a tight end every down, what you see traditionally from like the mid 90s, like a West Coast offense, Bill Walsh or something like that. I don't think that's what he means by pro style, but I do think offensively Oregon will look a little differently. And I guess just another thought I've had kind of looking at the way Dan Lanning has operated here is he does seem, not that Mario Cristobal wasn't using or utilizing social media to its fullest, maybe. Lanning seems to be a little bit more bought into that even than what Mario Cristobal was, how he kind of bought into it. And I think that makes sense when you look at just the age difference there. Dan Lanning being 35 years old, Mario being in his mid 40s. That youthful, I think, aspect of things will be, I think, interesting to follow and see some of those differences going forward. And I think one thing on the social media that kind of stood out to me that I don't know if others have noticed is the marriage of Oregon and Nike as brands. You see the Nike Just Do It symbol on a lot of social media stuff. Years ago, that would have been questionable to do that, but with the new NLI stuff, you kind of, maybe it's worthwhile to play up the connection with Nike. Everyone already says Oregon's Nike U. Well, let's just accept that and move on with it. And that seems like something Lanning's been more comfortable doing than Cristobal.
Absolutely. Rich Brooks, he took Oregon to a Rose Bowl in 1995, and that was well before Oregon was Oregon, meaning Oregon that everybody thinks about with the flash and the Nike and everything included.